Chapter 188. Cartman's figure shook, and he suddenly appeared in front of Xianxia, before kicking at her. Wall of darkness. Xianxia's pretty complexion changed. She silently recited an incantation, and the semi-divine armament dark scepter in her hand blossomed with black divine radiance. The black divine radiance interweaved and condensed, forming a wall shrouded in darkness. Boom! Cartman kicked the arm guard of darkness, causing the arm guard of darkness to tremble, and countless cracks appeared on it. Xianxia's beautiful face turned pale. It was the first time that she had seen someone seriously injure her wall of darkness with a single blow. At this moment, a peerlessly terrifying aura descended from the sky. The mechanical black dragon flapped its wings, suddenly flew down, and whipped at Cartman with its enormous tail. Bang! Cartman was whipped by the mechanical black dragon, and was sent flying, before crashing into the ground. Suddenly, grotesque radiation tumors emerged on his body, causing him to issue extremely painful and sorrowful howls. The heavy radiation from the nuclear explosion not only heavily injured Cartman, but also caused his body to undergo a tremendous change. Rumbling sounds echoed in the sky. Lightning supersonic fighters abruptly flew out from the clouds, loaded with Gauss machine cannons as they frantically swept towards Cartman. Under the bombardment of the densely packed Gauss cannons, Cartman screamed endlessly with blood splattering all over his body. A mammoth heavy-duty bomber loaded with all kinds of bombs dropped from the sky, before ferociously crashing into Cartman's location. With a loud bang, the mammoth heavy-duty bomber instantly self-detonated, and a small mushroom cloud rose once again. According to the analysis of the Portable Fortified Strongholds intelligent computer, the might of a mammoth heavy-duty bomber's self-detonation was comparable to that of an offensive spell cast by a great warlock. However, the flying speed of a mammoth heavy-duty bomber was too slow. In actual combat, it was basically unable to hit a great warlock. Cartman was truly formidable to the extreme. Even though he was hit by the mammoth heavy-duty bomber's self-detonation, he still didn't die. He merely spouted a large mouthful of black demonic blood, endured the pain, and shot away from his location. If he dared to stay in place, then the countless mechanical legions would definitely blow him up. Icebound fetters. When Dephilia saw this scene, a strange glint flashed in her beautiful eyes. She took out the legendary secret treasure ice snowbox, opened it, and silently chanted an incantation, pointing at Cartman. Two streams of white cold air shot out of the ice and snowbox and flew to Cartman's feet like chains, instantly sealing his legs in ice. Cartman was greatly alarmed and struggled with all his might. Countless demonic energy gushed out and shattered the ice under his feet. The three mammoth heavy-duty bombers dropped down once more, slamming into Cartman's body and exploding. Three mushroom clouds rose into the sky, blasting Cartman into a bloody mess. Another huge crack appeared on the remains of the semi-divine armament white elephant armor on his body. In the sky, the mechanical black dragon had finished accumulating energy. It opened its bloody mouth and shot a dragon breath cannon at Cartman. The mechanical black dragon's most powerful dragon breath cannon instantly vaporized Cartman's lower body, causing him to scream once again. "You damned human ants, how dare you injure me? I will never let you off. Wait until I recover from my injuries, then it will be your doomsday. I will capture you one by one and torture you endlessly day and night for 500 years. Cartman uttered an extremely vicious curse. What remained of his lower body turned into a black ray of light and fled into the distance. Cartman was already seriously injured after the continuous attacks from Yang Feng and his party. If he didn't flee, then only death would await him. With great difficulty, Cartman had managed to send an embodiment to the Zhangji plane. He still had to rely on the embodiment's power to truly open the planar passageway and consolidate it, allowing his true body to descend from the demonist to the outside world. He naturally wouldn't let his embodiment fall so quickly. Just as Cartman fled, a figure blocked his escape route. The legendary dagger, Kiss of the Damned, easily pierced into Cartman's body. 12 types of curses erupted in an instant, causing Cartman to let out another blood-cursing scream. Cartman's body was stabbed by Romulaj's sneak attack. Having lost his hands and feet, He opened his mouth and sprayed a black ray of light that blasted into Romulaj's tender body. As if a broken rag doll, Romulaj fell from the sky and slammed into the ground, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. With Cartman's pause, the countless Gauss cannons in the sky at once bombarded him, causing him to spit blood again and again. Cartman glared hatefully at Romulaj. Withstanding the 12 kinds of curses of Kiss of the Damned, he turned into a black ray of light and flew towards Eyes of Justice's headquarters. Yang Feng's eyes flashed with a touch of graveness and he said solemnly, "We must kill him. If we let him recover, then we'll be in danger." Cartman fell into Yang Feng's trap and was seriously injured by the 6 nuclear warheads. Then, he was besieged by Carolina and the other 2 peak great warlocks as well as the mechanical black dragon. Under such circumstances, he was still able to seriously injure Carolina and Romulaj. His strength was simply beyond Yang Feng's imagination. After Carolina coughed out a mouthful of blood, she said lightly, "All right, heal me." Xianxia silently chanted an incantation and pointed at Carolina. She instantly cast the level 4 divine spell, Great Healing. Rays of divine light fell on Carolina's body and quickly healed her internal and external injuries. Although Carolina was also proficient in healing spells, but in terms of healing effects, the High Priestess Xianxia who used divine power was still more formidable. Yang Feng waved his hand and a lightning supersonic fighter descended from the sky and landed on the ground. Carolina and the other 3 women jumped lightly into the cabin of the lightning supersonic fighter. The flying speed of the lightning supersonic fighter couldn't compare to the flying speed of Carolina and the others when casting spells at full strength. However, that was only for short-distance flights. In terms of long-distance flights, the lightning supersonic fighter was definitely a notch better. The lightning supersonic fighter took off in a flash and madly chased after Cartman at full speed. I should also do what I should do. Yang Feng's eyes flashed with a touch of a cold glint. He put on a helmet and began to issue a series of orders. The 1 million level, 8 primary battle robots stationed in St. Colin's City entered the dimensional personnel carriers one after another. The dimensional personnel carriers then quickly entered the Thunder Demon heavy-duty transport aircraft. The Thunder Demon heavy-duty transport aircraft suddenly took off and, under the escort of several thousand Falcon heavy-duty assault helicopters, moved towards Eyes of Justice. The level 4 humanoid robots that couldn't enter the Falcon heavy-duty assault helicopters quickly assembled and then rushed towards Eyes of Justice. A large number of dimensional personnel carriers filled with high-energy crystals followed beside the humanoid robots, ready to replenish their energy at any time. 800,000 level 8 primary battle robots of various types walked out of Giant Stone City and boarded the Thunder Demon heavy-duty transport aircraft as they moved towards Eyes of Justice. Boom! Boom! Along with loud noises, the ground of Giant Stone City split open and an enormous sphere with a diameter of 500 meters flew out of Giant Stone City. That enormous sphere was covered with all kinds of thick cannons and equipped with all kinds of weapons. At a glance, one could tell that it was an incomparably ferocious war-fortified stronghold. This enormous sphere floating in the air was the most powerful weapon Yang Feng currently possessed, the Level 1 Portable Fortified Stronghold. Shortly after the Level 1 Portable Fortified Stronghold flew out, another Level 1 Portable Fortified Stronghold flew out. Yang Feng had made a total of 3 Level 1 Portable Fortified Strongholds. He had made up his mind that if he couldn't survive in Tyrandot subcontinent, then he would flee to another place. Now that he had mobilized 2 Level 1 Portable Fortified Strongholds and exposed his trump card, he decided to get rid of Cartman in one fell swoop. At the very least, he would eliminate all of Cartman's subordinates in Tyrandot subcontinent. After the 2 armed mobile strongholds took off, they quickly flew in the direction of Eyes of Justice's nest. Under the pursuit of the several thousand lightning supersonic fighters dispatched by Yang Feng, Cartman cut a sorry figure as he fled. The legendary dagger kiss of the damned that was stabbed into his body would erupt with curses from time to time, causing him unbearable pain and abruptly reducing his speed. Then he would be overtaken by the lightning supersonic fighters. Moreover, The legendary dagger kiss of the damned would always emit a peculiar fluctuation of curses that even Cartman couldn't conceal. It was also impossible for Cartman to pull out the kiss of the damned. Once he pulled out the kiss of the damned due to his lack of strength, then he would be captured without putting up a fight. If the legendary dagger kiss of the damned hadn't been stabbed into Cartman's body, then by relying on his ability, he would have already quietly escaped from Yang Feng and his party's pursuit. Cartman didn't have any leeway to choose, he could only madly flee towards Eyes of Justice's direction. The chase lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, before Cartman finally erupted and directly fled into Eyes of Justice's territory. Your Majesty! As soon as Cartman entered Eyes of Justice, his 8 subordinates brought more than 100 level 3 warlock rank demon experts to greet Cartman. Cartman opened his mouth and inhaled. The more than 100 advanced demon generals with battle prowess comparable to level 3 warlock rank exploded one after another, turning into mists of blood that entered his mouth. The 8 great warlock rank demon commanders stood respectfully to the side, watching everything with indifference. Among demons, the strong were revered. A demon emperor like Cartman, even more so, regarded his subordinates as pigs and dogs. Only a demon commander rank expert would make him slightly attach importance to them. As for advanced demon generals, they were as numerous as the hairs on an ox. Chapter 189. After Cartman absorbed the flesh essence and souls of more than 100 advanced demon generals, his complexion at once became a lot ruddier. Flesh sprouted from his lower limbs, and with a pop, 2 tender and long legs grew out. Cartman said coldly, "Immediately bring those human captives over." Your Majesty! The 8 demon commanders responded respectfully and quickly retreated. Before long, countless humans were herded into the square where Cartman's giant statue was located by the demons as if they were pigs and dogs. After Cartman took control of Eyes of Justice, he released a bit of a rumor and deceived countless humans who attempted to join Eyes of Justice into Eyes of Justice's lair. The number of humans who had become demon captives reached as high as 1,300,000. When Cartman saw the densely packed humans, his eyes flashed with a touch of a smile. He opened his mouth and inhaled. A strange and terrifying suction force instantly shrouded the human captives. Help! Amidst blood-curdling screams, the densely packed humans exploded in an instant. A mixture of blood, flesh, and souls entered Cartman's mouth. Along with the continuous absorption of the human's flesh and souls, his severed hands quickly grew back and his aura rose steadily. Boom, boom, boom. Just as Cartman was enjoying himself, a series of explosions rang out from Eyes of Justice's lair. A demon commander said respectfully, "Your Majesty, Steel City's Mechanical Legion has already killed their way outside and is currently attacking us." Cartman said impatiently, "You guys go out at once and destroy Steel City's Mechanical Legion." Your Majesty! The 8 demon commanders responded with great respect. With a sway of their figures, they quickly flew away. At this moment, apart from Eyes of Justice's forbidden area, everywhere had already turned into a sea of fire. Under Yang Feng's order, the mammoth heavy-duty bombers were loaded with massive amounts of white phosphorus incendiary bombs and threw them into Eyes of Justice. Eyes of Justice turned into a sea of fire, with countless demons, demon generals, and other demons howling mournfully in the sea of fire. A demon commander saw the countless demon humans and demon generals wailing in the flames, and a cold light flashed in his eyes as he shouted, "His Majesty has ordered everyone to follow me out and kill everyone in the City of Steel. Kill them all. Kill them all." The eyes of the brave and ruthless devil cultivators and demon generals were all scarlet red, and they let out angry roars. Their morale was raised to the extreme, and they followed the 8 demon commanders out of the Eyes of Justice. More than 1,000,000 demon experts passed through the planar path. Many of them had grotesque appearances and were shrouded in demonic energy. They followed the 8 demon commanders to Eyes of Justice like ants. The 8 great demon commanders had just led countless demon armies to the Eye of Justice, when missiles carrying nuclear warheads fell from the sky, directly falling towards the Eye of Justice. Boom, 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 boom. Without waiting for the 8 demon commanders to act, the dozens of nuclear warheads detonated. Mushroom clouds rose into the sky, and endless light and heat engulfed the 8 demon commanders as well as the demons around them in a flash. Mountains collapsed and the earth split, the earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Even the forbidden area of Eyes of Justice's headquarters, which was the most heavily guarded, was completely engulfed by the terrifying nuclear explosions. The 1 million humans who had been captured by the demons were also engulfed by the endless light and heat from the explosions of the dozens of nuclear warheads. Cartman had already recovered part of his strength, but he was completely engulfed by the explosions of the dozens of nuclear warheads. His hands and feet, which had just grown back, instantly turned into ashes. More than half of the mountain range where Eyes of Justice's headquarters was located had collapsed due to the explosions of the dozens of nuclear warheads. The explosions of the dozens of nuclear warheads had caused the 8 great warlock-rank demon commanders to be insta-killed without being able to display the slightest bit of their strength. Daoisim couldn't help but inhale a mouthful of cold air when she saw that Eyes of Justice's headquarters had completely disappeared and the mountain range had collapsed. She exclaimed, "What a terrifying weapon! The might of such a weapon is too terrifying." Xianxia's beautiful eyes flashed with a touch of a peculiar glint. She smiled but didn't say anything. Carolina's beautiful eyes flashed with a touch of a peculiar glint and she said faintly, "I finally understand why he doesn't rashly use this weapon. This powerful weapon has a huge weakness." Daoisim promptly asked, "What weakness?" Romulage also pricked up her ears and listened carefully. Carolina said with a smile, "This weapon has to explode in order to display its terrifying might. So long as the carrier of this weapon is sealed before the explosion, or it is transferred to another place using a teleportation spell, then it won't have any power. If handled well, then it can be used to deal with its original owner." Yang Feng walked over from the side and said with a slight smile, "That's right. As expected of Carolina, your eyes are sharp. The greatest weakness of this weapon is that it's hard to hit the enemy. If it encounters a targeted spell, then it will instead become a sharp weapon in the hands of the enemy." The Zhangji Plains human warlocks had conquered many planes, absorbed the knowledge of countless different planes and created countless strange spells. Among the level 4 spells, there were sealing spells, teleportation spells and many other targeted spells. Sealing spells could directly seal missiles carrying nuclear warheads, while teleportation spells could instead teleport missiles carrying nuclear warheads to Yang Feng's mechanical legion. The nuclear warheads would then explode in the midst of Yang Feng's mechanical legion. When attacking Eyes of Justice's headquarters, Yang Feng first bombarded it to probe the reaction of Eyes of Justice's demons. Only then did he decisively launch dozens of nuclear warheads, directly raising Eyes of Justice's demon lair to the ground. Yang Feng's eyes suddenly flashed with a touch of horror and he exclaimed, "That guy still hasn't died. What kind of freak is he? Why is his life force so tenacious?" From the mechanical Black Dragon's energy scanning system, Yang Feng could clearly sense that there were fluctuations of life being emitted from the center of the nuclear explosion. Carolina promptly said, "From this life force, he should have been seriously injured and his strength should have dropped to an extremely low level. Let's go take a look." Carolina, Xianxia and Daoisim's figures shook and they rushed towards the center of the nuclear explosion. At the same time, Carolina smoothly grabbed Yang Feng and, as if carrying a cargo, rushed towards the center of the nuclear explosion. The center of the nuclear explosion was heavily contaminated with radiation. If an ordinary person were to enter such an area, they would definitely be courting death and would suffer from the radiation. But Carolina and the other 2 were great warlocks. Their bodies were comparable to extraordinary life forms and they didn't fear the radiation. Only if they were hit by a nuclear warhead at close range would their life force be destroyed, then the radiation would invade their bodies and disgusting radiation tumors would grow. In the center of the nuclear explosion, Cartman, who had lost his hands and feet and was blind in one eye, was still struggling in pain. He had only half of his body left and his demonic chi had collapsed. But his aura was already far from being as formidable and invincible as it was the first time he saw him. The damaged Cartman stared fixedly at Yang Feng and his party, his eyes brimming with resentment, and he said while stressing each syllable, "You ants, you dare to injure the clone of the mighty demon Emperor Cartman. The mighty demon Emperor Cartman won't let you off. This world's human warlocks have already declined and the era of our demon race is coming. The entire Xianxia Plain has our demon race planar passageways. This is just one of them. What you killed today was just an insignificant clone of Cartman. So long as my clone dies, a curse will befall you. As long as you're less than 10,000 kilometers away, my true body will sense your existence, descend to your side and kill you all. If you're tactful, then surrender to me now. Wait for my true body to descend, then I'll naturally give you great benefits, allowing you to break through your bottleneck and promote to Starry Sky Warlocks." When Carolina and the other two heard that, their eyebrows creased slightly and their beautiful eyes revealed traces of dread. They could clearly sense the truth in Cartman's words. A good chance. Yang Feng's eyes lit up. He took out a huge syringe, stepped forward and fiercely stabbed Cartman with it, forcibly extracting a vial of pitch-black demonic blood from Cartman's body. Although Cartman's avatar was Acheson's body, but what flowed within it was Cartman's demonic blood. Only the true demonic blood comparable to a god's could allow a great warlock to directly promote to a demigod. Begin analysis. The blood is a blood sample of a level 12 life form. According to the Xianxia Plain's classification of ranks, it should be a Moonlight Warlock rank expert. According to the other plane's classification of ranks, it should be a Feeble Divine Force rank expert. Continue the analysis. According to the analysis, to completely analyze the blood, it would take 30 years to use only the computing power of a single optical computer. 2 optical computers would take 15 years, 3 optical computers would take 10 years. How many optical computers would it take to use the computing power? Yang Feng created 3 portable fortified strongholds, each of which had 3 optical computers. The computing power and analytical power of each optical computer was more than 100 times that of the combined computing power of all the computers on Earth. Yang Feng thought for a moment and then made a choice. First, use the computing power of one of the optical computers to analyze. Yang Feng needed the computing power of the optical computers on his path of cultivation, such as analyzing elixirs, constructing spell models, analyzing all kinds of spell models, and so on. Yang Feng wasn't in a hurry to analyze Cartman's blood. After all, he only had the cultivation of a level 2 warlock at present. After extracting Cartman's demonic blood, Yang Feng injected a vial of liquid metal nanorobot elixir into Cartman's body. Chapter 190. Once the liquid metal nanorobots were injected into Cartman's body, they only lasted for less than a second before being killed by Cartman's formidable demonic blood, not a single one remaining. Cartman said with a cold smile, "You want to use poison to control me? It's no use. My true body is the Demonist Plane's demon emperor. I'm fundamentally different from you ants. My true body is a formidable being comparable to a god. The poison of you ants can't control me." Yang Feng didn't pay attention to Cartman and silently asked within, "Can I control the life form through the liquid metal nanorobots?" From the analysis of the information transmitted by the liquid metal nanorobots, the life form's blood possesses an extremely strong power. Foreign objects are basically unable to fuse or invade it. Unless the blood is completely analyzed, otherwise, it's impossible to manufacture the liquid metal nanorobot elixir to control the life form. Yang Feng suddenly asked Carolina next to him, "Carolina, does his true body know what happened to his avatar here?" Carolina gave a bitter smile and said, "I also don't know. In our Tyrandot subcontinent, knowledge about God's avatars is very scarce. After all, it has been nearly 10,000 years since anyone from our Tyrandot subcontinent went to explore other planes. After the collapse of the 8th Warlock dynasty, there were very few great warlocks in Tyrandot subcontinent who would go explore other planes. Exploring other planes was very dangerous. Once one entered a plane like the Demonist plane, human warlocks would most likely be caught and eaten by demons. Even if it was a Moonlight Warlock rank expert who entered a plane like the Demonist plane, they would also die if they were the slightest bit careless. Additionally, demons manipulated eyes of justice to continuously and silently erase that knowledge, resulting in fewer and fewer people knowing about other planes' divine and demonic knowledge. Yang Feng's gaze fell on the two women, Dephilia and Xianxia. The two of them shook their heads slightly, clearly not knowing about this knowledge. I do know a thing or two about this knowledge. A voice suddenly sounded from the side. Everyone's complexions changed, and they looked towards the direction from which the voice came. They saw a handsome young man dressed in a white gown that was 70% similar to China's ancient Hanfu, with the temperament of a scion of an influential family and an extraordinary grandeur, unhurriedly walk over from the side with a smile on his face. Yang Feng couldn't help but inwardly criticize, "This guy is really handsome. If he were to come to Earth, then Earth's male stars would lose their jobs." The young man with the temperament of a scion of an influential family said with a gentle and courteous smile, "I'm Kong Fong Ao, I'm from the continent's eastern world's Great Cloud Dynasty. I received information that a demonic calamity would break out here, so I specially came to suppress it. I didn't expect the Demon Emperor's avatar to be suppressed by all of you. All of you are really amazing. People from the continent." Carolina and the other women's expressions changed slightly. They looked at Kong Fangao with a trace of respect. The main continent on the other side of the Sea of Monsters was the cultivation holy land that all warlocks yearned for even in their dreams. Human warlocks with the ability to overturn rivers and seas, to enslave gods and fiends were basically all gathered in the main continent. If it wasn't for the Sea of Monsters being extremely dangerous, then Tyrandot subcontinent's warlock geniuses would have already left for the main continent. Yang Feng introduced, "I'm Steel City's Grand Marshal Yang Feng, this is Snow White Madame Dephilia, this is Rose Garden's Master Carolina, and this is the Dark Elven Great Matriarch Xianxia." After exchanging pleasantries, Yang Feng asked directly, "Kong Fong Ao, can this guy's clone share the perception of his true body?" Kong Fong Ao smiled slightly and said unhurriedly, "When powerful beings from other planes descend to the Zhangji plane, they will generally use projections, clones, and the like. Because most of the planar passageways are unstable, the more powerful the being, the more difficult it is to pass through the planar passageway. If a projection descends to this plane, then it will split off a trace of the powerful being's consciousness. Once the projection is taken back, then the powerful being will know everything that happened to the projection on this plane. If the projection is destroyed, then the true body won't suffer any harm. Clones are beings condensed from a part of the powerful being's soul. They are integrated with the powerful being's true body. Anything that happens to the clone, the true body will be able to sense it. Every time an avatar is killed, the true body will be harmed. Clones are beings formed from a part of the true body, such as blood, limbs, divinity, and other things that contain the true body's power and mysteries, as well as a trace of consciousness and other beings. The consciousness of the clone and the true body are relatively independent. Everything that happens to the clone must be taken back by the true body, only then will the true body know. This Cartman is obviously a clone of the Demon Emperor Cartman that descended to this world. As long as he hasn't returned to his true body, everything that happens here will basically not be sensed by the Demon Emperor Cartman." After hearing Kong Fong Ao's explanation, the complexions of Carolina and the other women became slightly better. Kong Fong Ao added another sentence, "However, there are no absolutes in all things. If this doppelganger had mastered some strange secret treasures or some strange spells, and the Demon Emperor Cartman used some secret techniques, he might be able to sense everything that was happening here at the same time. After all, the Demonist plane is one of the 36 primary material planes, not one bit inferior to the Zhangji plane. The Demonist's Demon Emperor rank experts are already equivalent to the feeble divine force rank gods of other planes. Their divine abilities are so great that they are far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Unfortunately, I originally planned to capture him and use him as an experimental material for research. In this case, I can't let him stay." Yang Feng said somewhat regretfully and clapped his hands. In the sky, the mechanical black dragon opened its huge mouth, and a dragon breath cannon descended from the sky and blasted the Demon Emperor Cartman, directly blasting the clone into ashes. Yang Feng gave a forthright smile and invited, "Kong Feng Ao, how about coming to my St. Colin city for a chat? I'll be the host and treat you to a drink. Kong Fong Ao said with a smile, of course, I wouldn't dare. On the top floor of St. Colin City's most luxurious restaurant, Yang Feng and Kong Fong Ao were enjoying Turandot subcontinent's top delicacies while talking about the local customs. Kong Fong Ao came from the main continent's famous aristocratic family. His experience was extremely rich and he was extremely talkative, benefiting Yang Feng a lot. After 3 rounds of wine, Kong Fong Ao pondered for a while and said, Brother Yang, I can vaguely feel a trace of Black Dragon's blood meridian fluctuations in your body. Have you transplanted Black Dragon's blood meridians and cultivated the secret method Black Dragon Morph? Yang Feng's eyes flashed with a touch of admiration and he said, That's right. Before Yang Feng used a spell, even a peak great warlock like Carolina would find it difficult to sense that he possessed Black Dragon's blood meridians. Kong Fong Ao had only drunk with him once, yet he was already able to sense that he possessed Black Dragon's blood meridians. This kind of knowledge was simply shocking. Kong Fong Ao's eyes flashed with a touch of regret and he sighed. Brother Yang, with your outstanding talent, how could you cultivate such an inferior secret method like Black Dragon Morph? After all, this Black Dragon Morph secret method only has 5 layers. After barely cultivating it to the Starry Sky Warlock rank, there's no way forward. Yang Feng was suddenly somewhat speechless. The Black Dragon Morph secret method was the core secret method of Black Dragon Pagoda, one of the 6 great warlock groups in Turandot subcontinent. Yang Feng was speechless that such a powerful secret method was rated as an inferior secret method by Kong Fong Ao. Yang Feng said without batting an eyelid, Black Dragon Morph can be cultivated to the Starry Sky Warlock rank. It should be regarded as a relatively powerful secret method. How could it be an inferior secret method? My Zhangji plane is one of the 36 primary material planes. In the past, the 7 great warlock emperors of the human race suppressed the universe and conquered countless planes. For what reason did gods, fiends, and devils serve as the lackeys of my human race? It's naturally because of the supreme strength of my human warlocks. My Zhangji plane's warlocks are divided into Level 1 Warlock, Level 2 Warlock, Level 3 Warlock, Great Warlock, Starry Sky Warlock, Moonlight Warlock, Glorious Sun Warlock, Bright World Warlock, Infinity Warlock, Warlock Monarch, Holy Spirit Warlock, and Warlock Emperor. Starry Sky Warlock rank is merely the 5th class. In my Great Cloud Dynasty, Starry Sky Warlock rank experts can at most dominate a city, that's all. In my Great Cloud Dynasty, Starry Sky Warlock rank experts can at most dominate a city, that's all. I'm 24 years old this year, and I'm already a great warlock. If nothing unexpected happens, then I'll be able to promote to a Starry Sky Warlock in 3 years. I'm 24 years old this year, and I'm already a great warlock. If nothing unexpected happens, I can promote to a Starry Sky Warlock in 3 years. As for the Moonlight Warlock rank, it's somewhat difficult. Kong Fong Ao smiled faintly, his words brimming with confidence. Carolina was already considered a rare genius in Turandot subcontinent, and she also had the support of Rose Garden's massive resources. Carolina was already regarded as a rare genius in Turandot subcontinent, and she had the support of Rose Garden's huge amount of resources. Even such a genius didn't have the confidence to promote to a Starry Sky Warlock before her death. The difficulty of promoting to a Starry Sky Warlock could be imagined. Kong Fong Ao had the confidence to promote to a Starry Sky Warlock at the age of 27. In Turandot subcontinent, this cultivation speed was simply heaven-defying. Yang Feng now understood why those Starry Sky Warlocks never came back after leaving Turandot subcontinent. That was because the main continent's resources and opportunities weren't something that Turandot subcontinent could compare to. If the main continent was a sea, then Turandot subcontinent was just a small quagmire. If one wanted to become a true dragon, then one had to go to the sea. If one stayed in the small quagmire, then one could at most become the thickest of loaches. Kong Fong Ao said lightly, the Black Dragon Morph is a secret method passed down from the 2nd Warlock dynasty. This ancient blood meridian secret method is already outdated. If one wants to practice cultivation to the level of Taboo Lord, then one needs a huge amount of Aurum clan's blood essence. The Aurum clan has already been wiped out by Taboo Lord, so this path is basically a dead end. Yang Feng smiled bitterly. He knew that it was easy to start on the Blood Meridian Warlock path, but extremely difficult to promote later on. However, his soul aptitude was merely at inferior level 1, so he could only walk on the Blood Meridian Warlock path. If it was on the main continent, then perhaps there would be countless secret methods and resources that could solve Yang Feng's low soul aptitude. But there were no ifs. In Tyrannid subcontinent, there were no resources or secret methods that could allow people with inferior level 1 soul aptitude to practice cultivation. He had no choice at that time. Kong Fang Ao said, "Moreover, you also absorbed divinity. That's simply a difference on top of a difference." Divinity was indeed a good treasure. It contained endless knowledge and a trace of the mysteries of laws. It was a first-rate material used to refine semi-divine armaments, as well as a necessity for practicing cultivation and promoting to a god. But in the Zhangji plane, there was the god-murdering spear. Any expert that vainly attempted to ignite their god fire would only end up dead. Although the divinity inside your body can make your strength advance by leaps and bounds in a short period of time, but when you attack the Starry Sky Warlock rank and undergo a soul transformation, the divinity will definitely be the most frightening obstacle blocking your evolution. Moreover, along with your continuous practice, your strength will continue to increase, and the divinity will slowly transform you into a divine life form. After you promote to a great warlock, no one will be able to help you anymore. Yang Feng was secretly alarmed. After he absorbed the 3 divinity, his strength had skyrocketed. He had always been complacent, thinking that he had obtained a great fortuitous encounter. But he never would have thought that the 3 divinity would actually be a terrifying slow-acting poison for him. Yang Feng's eyes flashed with a touch of bitterness. This is the consequence of insufficient knowledge. If I had known about it, then I wouldn't have personally come to devour the divinity. Yang Feng asked solemnly, "Brother Kong, is there no other way?" Kong Fang Ao said, "It's not that there isn't a way. You're currently a level 2 warlock. If you go to the main continent, then ask a Moonlight Warlock rank expert to take action. They can extract the divinity inside you. However, in that way, you won't be able to preserve the divinity inside you. Furthermore, after the divinity is extracted, your strength will also drop greatly. In addition, you can find some heaven and earth treasures, such as the True Mystic Embodiment Bead, the Life Embodiment Bead, the Immortal Mark Embodiment Lotus Root, and such peerless embodiment treasures. You can transplant your blood meridians and divinity to form a new embodiment, and then put the new embodiment into another plane's god, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. However, peerless embodiment treasures such as the True Mystic Embodiment Bead are extremely rare. Even Glorious Dawn Warlock rank experts and above would go crazy for them. Even in the main continent, they're rare and hard to find. You can forget about this method. Yang Feng's heart stirred slightly and he said, "Brother Kong, tell me about the characteristics of these treasures such as the True Mystic Embodiment Bead. I can also send people to pay attention to them. Maybe there are such treasures in the Tyrannid subcontinent. I still have a bit of influence in the Tyrannid subcontinent." Alright. Kong Fang Ao was very straightforward. He pointed with his hand, a magic screen flickered, and images of legendary treasures appeared in front of Yang Feng. "This is the True Mystic Embodiment Bead." Kong Fang Ao pointed at the images of the treasures and introduced them to Yang Feng. Yang Feng stared at the Life Embodiment Bead and suddenly felt excited. "The Life Embodiment Bead, this bead is similar to the green bead I got from Gloom Cave." Chapter 191. The Life Embodiment Bead was a treasure Yang Feng obtained from Gloom Cave's headquarters via the planar passageway. Yang Feng didn't know what kind of treasure the Life Embodiment Bead was, but he still carefully wore it on his chest. Now that he knew that this was a treasure that even Glorious Dawn Warlocks would go crazy for, he was filled with ecstasy. Yang Feng's eyes flashed with a scorching radiance and he said solemnly, "Brother Kong, can you teach me the method to separate the bloodline and divinity and condense an embodiment?" Kongfang Ao hesitated for a moment. I know the rules. According to the rules between warlocks, a corresponding price must be paid in exchange for secret methods and knowledge. This is a mechanical golem comparable to a level 4 extraordinary life form. Do you think it's enough to exchange for the secret method? Yang Feng pressed the dimensional crest on his chest, and a fire demonic lion mechanical battle beast suddenly appeared, exuding terrifying fluctuations of power comparable to that of a great warlock. Kongfang Ao said with an apologetic expression, "This secret method isn't anything special. It is taught in some mid-level sects of the Great Cloud Dynasty. However, when I was practicing cultivation in the sect, I made an oath that I would never teach the knowledge taught by the sect to others without the permission of the sect. Therefore, I'm very sorry, but I can't teach you the secret method." Yang Feng suddenly had a disappointed expression, lowered his head, and sank into his thoughts. Kongfang Ao comforted him. "However, Brother Yang, if you come to the continent, I can give you a letter of recommendation and recommend you to the Cloud Scarlet sect to practice cultivation. Although the Cloud Scarlet sect isn't one of the Great Cloud Dynasty's 10 great sects, but it's still a first-rate sect second only to the 10 great sects. The secret methods in the sect are as numerous as the clouds. The method to separate the bloodline and divinity and condense an embodiment isn't anything precious." Yang Feng suddenly asked, "Right, Brother Kong, I heard you say that the might of the 7 great warlock emperors shook the universe. But don't we human warlocks have the 8 great warlock dynasties?" Kongfang Ao said with a cold smile, "Haha. The Dawn dynasty's Dawn Lord is far inferior to the 7 great warlock emperors. How can he be mentioned in the same breath as the 7 great warlock emperors?" After a cold smile, Kongfang Ao added a sentence, "Brother Yang, no matter how bad the Dawn Lord is, he's still one of the strongest experts of the human race. I don't want to speak ill of him." Yang Feng contemplated for a moment before saying, "Brother Kong, I also want to go to the continent with you. What do you think?" Originally, Yang Feng planned to stay in the Tyrandot subcontinent and dominate the entire Tyrandot subcontinent. He planned to practice cultivation until the Great Warlock realm, and then go to the main continent. But now that things were clearly far from reassuring, Yang Feng could only be forced to set off for the main continent and think of a way to solve the hidden danger. Kongfang laughed heartily and said, "Good. 3 months later, Ming Feng Merchant Group will send a fleet to Tyrandot subcontinent to trade. At that time, we will return to the main continent together." 10 days later, in the city of Dark Elves, within the temple of Goddess Lolth, many Dark Elves prostrated themselves on the ground and chanted prayers. Yang Feng stood in a corner of the temple of the Goddess Lolth and quietly watched everything. From his glasses, he could see wisps of faith power flying out of the Dark Elves' bodies and entering the statue of Goddess Lolth, making the statue of Goddess Lolth emit a faint layer of divine light. Behind Yang Feng stood 2 people, Joanna and Romulich. After the Dark Elves finished their prayers, they respectfully retreated from the temple. Romulich said somewhat discontentedly, "You called us here just to watch this prayer? What's the point?" Romulich was a legend-rank assassin with incomparably powerful strength. At the same time, she didn't believe in the Goddess Lolth. Joanna was a legend-rank archer, but she also didn't believe in the Goddess Lolth. Unless one was a priest nurtured by the temple of the Goddess Lolth since childhood, otherwise, the more powerful the Dark Elven clan was, the more disdainful they would be of the Goddess Lolth. No one would like a god that incessantly sowed discord and made races slaughter each other for fun. In order to obtain power, the Dark Elves at the bottom would instead be more devout in the worship of the Goddess Lolth. Such a dark god, as long as enough flesh and souls were sacrificed, they would generously bestow power to their believers. Faith, power, and souls, these were the most useful things to gods. Among many gods, powerful souls were used as equivalent currency to carry out all kinds of transactions. I'll show you the might of my Steel City's latest black technology, the Crown of Blasphemy. Yang Feng smiled slightly, put on a black hat, and went directly before the statue of the Goddess Lolth. "Mighty my Lord Lolth, you are the ruler of the Dark Elves, the adjudicator of the night, the Queen of Darkness, the protector of the spiders, and the ruler of fear. I am your most devout believer, the priest who shepherds your people. I ask you to bestow me with divine power, to display your divine might, to protect your lambs, and to adjudicate your enemies." As Yang Feng recited the priest's prayers, pure spirit fluctuations were transmitted from his body. He seemed to have transformed into the most devout priest, the degree of his devotion even surpassing that of the great matriarch of the Dark Elves Xianxia. In fact, the great matriarch of the Dark Elves Xianxia wasn't very devout towards the goddess Lolth. But the matriarchs and great matriarchs of the Dark Elves had to be priests and high priests, and they had to have the divine power of the goddess Lolth cover their bodies. Once they betrayed the goddess Lolth, then the divine power inside their bodies would ignite and burn them to ashes. Streams of extremely pure divine power were emitted from the statue of the goddess Lolth, and shone on Yang Feng, displaying the grace of the goddess. Romulage was dumbstruck, not daring to believe her eyes. What's going on? He's obviously a non-believer who isn't even a pseudo-believer, so how did he suddenly become a fanatic? Furthermore, he even obtained divine grace. How could this be? When Yang Feng was with Romulage and the other Dark Elven experts, he didn't conceal his disgust towards the goddess of the Dark Elves Lolth. Such a person was definitely a non-believer. But now, a non-believer unexpectedly became a fanatic and even obtained divine grace. He was simply a freak. Joanna was also dumbstruck. What's going on? How could he become a fanatic and even obtain divine grace, and become a priest in one go? How is this possible? Xianxia was speechless. Even she, because her faith wasn't pious enough, hadn't obtained divine grace. Only because of her tyrannical strength, and her body had been immersed in a large amount of Lolth's divine power, was she able to become a high priest of the goddess Lolth. Many thanks, great goddess. Yang Feng laughed heartily, walked over, and said somewhat complacently, "Unfortunately, it's only at the level 2 priest rank. But it's still a so. After all, the healing effect of divine power is much stronger than that of many level 2 spells." Romulage hurriedly asked, "How did you do it?" "Yang Feng, you're obviously not a believer, so how did you obtain divine grace?" Being an assassin was a high-risk occupation. Walking on the tip of a blade, one could be seriously injured if they were the slightest bit careless. If Romulage could obtain a divine spell and become a high priest, then her battle prowess would increase geometrically. Among the divine spells of the goddess Lolth, there was also the legend Stealth, which was a divine spell for assassins. Shadow Goddess Malia was the weakest among great warlocks in terms of strength, but with the help of all kinds of outrageous shadow divine spells. She had assassinated quite a few great warlock rank experts who were much more powerful than her. Yang Feng said with a slight smile, "Although gods are powerful, but they can't always pay attention to any plane. They basically have to rely on the divine domain to handle daily affairs. The crown of blasphemy can imitate the spirit fluctuations of a fanatic. As long as you carry a prayer, you can deceive her divine domain and obtain power. As long as you don't cause too much trouble and attract her attention, then you can use her divine power at will." Joanna said without a trace of politeness, "Good stuff, I want one." Romulage said with a beaming smile, "I want one too." Top Dark Elven experts like Joanna and Romulage didn't believe in the goddess Lolth. Instead, they were very eager to improve their strength. With their strength, they could serve as high priests and unleash formidable divine spells with the help of the goddess Lolth's power. Yang Feng handed the crown of blasphemy to Xianxia. "Xianxia, wear one as well. With this thing, you can prevent her divine power from eroding your body. In the future, I'll think of a way to get rid of the hidden dangers in your body." Xianxia took the crown of blasphemy and showed Yang Feng an extremely charming smile. "Thank you, Lord." When casting divine spells, the priests of gods would be eroded by divine power, allowing the divine spell to spread throughout their body and soul. Once the priests died, their souls would be directly received by the divine power into the divine country of the god, where they would be reborn. The prerequisite was that the god had their own divine country. Not all gods had their own divine country. In order to establish a divine country, it required a tremendous amount of resources and a tremendous amount of faith power. Some newborn gods didn't have a divine country, which was when they were at their weakest. At that time, they could easily be targeted by powerful enemies and then hunted down. Gods with divine nations are very powerful in their own divine nations. If a feeble divine force rank god hid in their divine country, then if a weak divine force rank god went in and fought them, they would basically die. Even if an intermediate divine force rank god entered the divine country of a feeble divine force rank god and fought them, the outcome would still be uncertain. As the primary god of the Dark Elves, the goddess Lolth also had her own divine country. This was also the reason why many Dark Elves believed in her. However, in the Tyrannid subcontinent, many legend rank experts were generally unwilling to believe in gods. That was because once they believed in a god, then after death, they would still have to fight for the god after entering their divine country, which was equivalent to a different kind of slave. In the Xianxia plane, the experts who accepted the ideology of human warlocks were naturally unwilling to become slaves of gods after death. Chapter 192. Yang Feng asked, Xianxia, I heard that you Dark Elves received a divine decree and then launched an attack on the surface world. Why did she want you to attack the surface world? She wanted us to occupy the surface world in order to look for a lost treasure. It was such a bead. Xianxia pointed with her lily-white hand, a magic radiance flickered, and the image of the life embodiment bead appeared midair. Yang Feng's heart shook slightly, and raging waves were set off in his heart. This is the life embodiment bead. So this thing belonged to her. Yang Feng's train of thought changed, and he vaguely guessed that the reason why the Dark Elves launched the Holy War was probably because he had opened the seal, and the goddess Lolth sensed a trace of fluctuations from the other plane, and thus ordered the Dark Elves to launch the Holy War in an attempt to find the bead. Unfortunately, the Dark Elves were battered and exhausted by him, and even their city fell under his control. Naturally, the matter of finding the life embodiment bead was left unsettled. Yang Feng pondered for a moment and then said, I intend to go to the main continent to look for even more powerful warlocks' secret methods. Who's willing to go with me? Xianxia and the other two creased their eyebrows slightly when they heard this. Xianxia said, My lord, it's not that we don't want to go with you. Rather, in the main continent, human warlock experts are as common as clouds, firmly occupying a dominant position. In the main continent, great warlocks aren't considered experts. Once we go to the main continent, then I'm afraid that we'll immediately become the prey of others. Please forgive me for speaking bluntly, but with your strength in the main continent, my lord, it's not enough to shelter us. Romulage said frankly, That's right. On the main continent, some human experts liked to exterminate the non-human kind. Once we encounter such human experts, then it'll be difficult for us to survive. Although I'm good at concealment secret methods, but in front of the human warlocks of the main continent, I still can't withstand a single blow. Xianxia, Joanna, and Romulage, the three women were Tyrannid subcontinent's peak experts. But in the Xianxia Plains main continent, they didn't count for much. In the Xianxia Plains main continent, peak human warlocks could even enslave gods and ancient fiends. That kind of existence could easily suppress the three women. Yang Feng could already proclaim himself a hegemon in the Tyrannid subcontinent, but once he went to the Xianxia Plain, he'd have to tuck his tail between his legs. Otherwise, the slightest carelessness could lead to death. Yang Feng pondered for a moment, and then said decisively, I miscalculated. How about this? I'll head over to the main continent first. If I can gain a foothold there, I'll come back to pick you up. White Elephant's Ivory Headquarters. Horace held a letter written by Yang Feng, his complexion alternating between green and white. He wished he could tear the letter to shreds. However, it was natural for a person whose bones had softened once to soften once more. He hesitated again and again, but in the end he did not tear the letter into pieces. He let out a long sigh and placed the letter directly on the table. 3 days later, White Elephant's Ivory announced its allegiance to Steel City and merged with its forces. When this news spread, Tyrannid subcontinent was immediately in an uproar. Of Tyrannid subcontinent's 6 great warlock groups, Rose Garden surrendered to Steel City, Warlock College Antalya was destroyed, Eyes of Justice was destroyed by Steel City, Savage Claw was destroyed by Cartman, and White Elephant's Ivory surrendered to Steel City. In Tyrannid subcontinent, Steel City had become the sole power, with only Black Dragon Pagoda still barely resisting the increasing pressure from Steel City. Yang Feng dispatched Alan as an emissary to Black Dragon Pagoda to negotiate. After Black Dragon Pagoda's Pagoda Master Anthony saw Eyes of Justice's headquarters, he was silent for a long time, before finally giving a long sigh and returning to Black Dragon Pagoda. Soon after Yang Feng agreed to a series of conditions put forward by Black Dragon Pagoda also announced its allegiance to Steel City and became a part of Steel City. In exchange, Yang Feng also married Black Dragon Empire's Level 3 Warlock Carol. Time elapsed, and in the blink of an eye, more than 2 months had passed. On the harbor, there was a 3,000 m long, several tens of meters tall giant ship, its hull exuding a black metallic luster and engraved with countless mysterious runes. What a big ship! After Yang Feng saw the giant ship, his eyes flashed with a touch of shock and he said solemnly. Kong Feng Ao's words revealed a trace of pride. This is our Great Cloud Dynasty's D-Class armed merchant ship. This D-Class armed merchant ship is manufactured from Magic Cloud Ironwood, a specialty of one of the 72 lesser provinces, Green Province's Magic Cloud County. It weighs 1,725,432 tons. They specialize in maritime trade with the subcontinents of the Sea of Trolls. Yang Feng was filled with shock. This is only a D-Class armed merchant ship? Great Cloud Dynasty is really formidable. Through his chat with Kong Feng Ao, Yang Feng already had a general understanding of Tsangji Plain's main continent, Eastern World's Great Cloud Dynasty. Great Cloud Dynasty's territory was vast and boundless. It had 36 greater provinces and 72 lesser provinces. Each province had 108 subordinate prefectures. Each lower prefecture had 250 to 360 subordinate prefectures under its direct jurisdiction. The area of each greater province of the Great Cloud Dynasty is more than 10 times that of the Tyrannid subcontinent. Lower provinces' subordinate counties were also 3 to 5 times that of Tyrannid subcontinent. Great Cloud Dynasty's armed merchant ships for maritime trade were divided into 4 grades, A, B, C, and D. The D-Class was the highest grade of armed merchant ships for maritime trade. In addition to the 4 grades of merchant ships, there were also some mediocre armed merchant ships responsible for offshore trade. Before Yang Feng's eyes was a huge armed merchant ship, which was very difficult to manufacture on Earth, yet it was merely a D-Class armed merchant ship of Great Cloud Dynasty. Compared to the main continent's Great Cloud Dynasty, Tyrannid subcontinent's people were a bunch of country bumpkins. They couldn't even manufacture 1/10 of this D-Class armed merchant ship. Young Master Kong Feng, who are these people? A dark-skinned, tall, black-haired, middle-aged man brimming with an oriental aura walked over and asked Kong Feng Ao with a slightly respectful tone. Kong Feng Ao introduced, Captain Zheng, this is my good friend Yang Feng and this is his younger sister Shui. Brother Yang, this is the Storm Cry's captain, Captain Zheng Gong. This time, Yang Feng's true body went to the eastern continent's Great Cloud Dynasty with only Shui. He was well aware that his strength was nothing in Great Cloud Dynasty. That was why he went to Great Cloud Dynasty alone. If anything happened, he could slip away without any worries. The reason why he brought Shui was because Tyrannid subcontinent's various secret methods were too weak. A freak like Shui would only be wasting her talent in Tyrannid subcontinent. Only by going to Great Cloud Dynasty and practicing even more powerful secret methods could she make perfect use of her freak-like talent and let her grow faster and better. In Tyrannid subcontinent, a cultivation desert, Shui was able to directly promote to a level 3 warlock in less than 5 years. The strength of her talent could be imagined. Yang Feng wasn't willing to waste her talent in vain. Yang Feng said with a smile, Hello, Captain Zheng. Zheng Gong swept Yang Feng with a glance, creased his eyebrows slightly, and said after a pause, Young Master Yang, hello. Although you're a friend of young Master Kong, but the fair can't be exempted. Yang Feng smiled slightly and threw a storage ring to Zheng Gong. I know, for 1,000 top-notch magic stones per person. Here are 8,000 top-notch magic stones, take a look. Zheng Gong took the storage ring, scanned it with his spirit, put it away, and then threw 2 jade cards to Yang Feng and Shi Shui. These are your identity cards, don't lose them. These 2 jade tokens might be able to save your lives at a crucial moment. Yang Feng took the jade card and took a look at it. He saw that the jade card was engraved with countless mysterious runes and emitted mysterious fluctuations of power. Clearly, it was a secret treasure. Zheng Gong said with a solemn expression, "The Sea of Monsters is very dangerous and there are countless taboos. On the ship, you have to listen to me. You can't run around, walk around, and most importantly, you can't throw things into the sea. Otherwise, I can't guarantee your safety." Yang Feng said lightly, "I know." The Sea of Monsters was very dangerous. Yang Feng also knew that in such a sea, even starry sky warlocks could die if they were the slightest bit careless. He naturally wouldn't act rashly. After Zheng Gong explained some more taboos of the Sea of Monsters to Yang Feng, only then did he leave. Yang Feng followed Kongfang Ao and boarded the giant ship Storm Cry. Set sail. Following Zheng Gong's bellow, magic radiances flashed on the Storm Cry's sailors, and a gale enveloped the Storm Cry. The entire Storm Cry was filled with an extremely formidable life force, as if an extraordinary life form had come to life. It slowly started up and swam towards the deep sea. Yang Feng felt the formidable life force filling the Storm Cry. His eyes flashed with a touch of horror, and he exclaimed, "This ship is alive?" Kongfang Ao said with a smile, "In a sense, it is alive. The soul of an ice sea demonic shark with battle prowess comparable to a starry sky warlock is sealed on the Storm Cry. After the power of the ship's crew is poured into the Storm Cry, it can even make the Storm Cry erupt with terrifying starry sky warlock rank battle prowess. An armed merchant ship could erupt with terrifying starry sky warlock rank battle prowess." Yang Feng was once again shocked by the great Cloud Dynasty strength. The Storm Cry sped above the sea. Its speed was extremely fast, as if it was riding the wind. It split the sea in two. Yang Feng had the optical computer calculate. The Storm Cry's speed was actually more than 300 knots per hour, 10 times the speed of Earth's aircraft carriers. In the sea, due to the obstruction of the sea, the speed of ships generally couldn't be too high. However, under the effect of the magic power, the Storm Cry completely broke Yang Feng's common sense on Earth. It was so fast that it left people tongue-tied. At the same time, while sailing at such a fast speed, the entire ship was still extremely stable, without the slightest sway. Yang Feng felt as if he was on land on the ship, without any discomfort. Chapter 193. 10 days later, after arriving at a part of the sea, the Storm Cry stopped. The Storm Cry's crew dragged out cattle and sheep and threw them into the sea. An extremely formidable life force spread from the depths of the sea. One after another, sea monsters, up to 50 meters long and covered in cyan-colored scales, jumped out of the sea, opened their ferocious maws and bit at the cattle and sheep as if they were grapes. Terrifying energy fluctuations of level 4 extraordinary life forms spread out from the bodies of these sea monsters. Yang Feng watched the sea monsters jump out of the sea, his eyes flashing with a touch of graveness and apprehension. The number of sea monsters that jumped out of the sea reached up to several hundred level 4 extraordinary life forms. Even starry sky warlocks would have to be somewhat apprehensive of them. Kongfang Ao said, "This part of the sea is the territory of the cyan-scaled demonic flood dragons. Anyone who crosses this part of the sea has to sacrifice living creatures for them to eat. Otherwise, they'll eat. If it was on land, then they would have already become the prey of my great Cloud Dynasty's hunting team. Unfortunately, it's still rather difficult to hunt them in the Sea of Monsters." Zheng Gong roared loudly. At the same time, he gave Yang Feng a deep look, revealing a trace of warning in the abyss of his eyes. No one is allowed to approach the side of the ship. If these monsters eat to their heart's content, then they'll also regard the people on the side of the ship as their prey. Zheng Gong had sailed for many years, traveling to different subcontinents, and had seen a lot of people. There were over 100 people of all shapes and sizes. Many people simply ignored his warnings and would bring great trouble to his ship. It was precisely because of this that he charged a high fare, raised the threshold, and refused to let too many outsiders board the ship. Yang Feng gave an indifferent smile and continued to stare at the level 4 extraordinary life forms science-scaled demonic flood dragons, silently thinking about something. After the science-scaled demonic flood dragons devoured enough cattle and sheep, they dived into the sea, perfectly contented. Set sail! Zheng Gong bellowed. The storm cry exuded a terrifying life force comparable to that of a level 5 extraordinary life form and spread in all directions. The large group of science-scaled demonic flood dragons that had gathered here dispersed and entered the depths of the sea. Only then did the whole wind sail off into the distance, surrounded by strong winds. Kong Fang Ao explained, "This route is a relatively safe route that the Ming Feng merchant group has spent thousands of years exploring. In the Sea of Monsters, there are some extremely terrifying places filled with level 5 extraordinary life forms. Even moonlight warlocks would be in great danger if they entered." Yang Feng nodded silently. 3 days later, the storm was galloping across the vast ocean. Suddenly, a black cloud floated over from the horizon. "Not good, everyone get ready for battle." Zheng Gong's face suddenly changed dramatically, and he barked, and terrifying life force infinitely close to that of a starry sky warlock erupted from him in a flash. Aboard the storm cry, all the sailors erupted with terrifying life force, drew their secret treasure weapons, and vigilantly looked at the sky. Yang Feng silently sensed the strength of the storm cry's sailors: 8 great warlocks, 336 level 3 warlocks, 2,653 level 2 warlocks. The strength of the D-grade armed merchant ship sailors is truly astonishing. In Tyrannid subcontinent, 8 great warlock rank experts were already enough to contend against Eyes of Justice, one of the continent's 6 great overlord forces. But these 8 great warlock rank experts were merely the heads of the storm cry. Only to see in the sky, monsters with shrunken dragon heads, about 1 meter long bodies, a pair of locust-like wings, a thick body, and a pair of dragon-like claws, formed a black cloud as they flew over. Zheng Gong bellowed. Sea dragon locusts are the most ferocious extraordinary life forms in the Sea of Monsters. Their mature bodies possess the terrifying battle prowess of level 2 extraordinary life forms. The most frightening thing is that they're social life forms, with the smallest group numbering in the hundreds of thousands. Even starry sky warlocks would have a headache if they encountered them. They're afraid of fire absorption spells, and even the level 1 spell Fireball can harm them. Try to use fire spells to deal with them. Yang Feng looked at the sea dragon locusts in the sky, and his eyes revealed a trace of graveness. If it was in Tyrannid subcontinent, Yang Feng would have 1 million level 8 primary battle robots protecting him at all times, and those sea dragon locusts would die no matter how many came. But this time, Yang Feng didn't have 1 million level 8 primary battle robots protecting him. If he was the slightest bit careless, then his true body might fall here. The dense swarm of sea dragon locusts dropped from the sky and pounced towards the storm cry. Zheng Gong gave a furious roar, pointed towards the sky, and instantly cast the level 3 fire attribute spell Fire Serpent. A fire serpent suddenly appeared and pounced towards the sea dragon locusts in the sky. Crackle! When the fire serpent entered the midst of the sea dragon locusts in the sky, crackling sounds were transmitted, and large swaths of the sea dragon locusts were burned to ashes. The sailors aboard the storm cry also formed a formation, with a clear distinction between offense and defense. The defenders released defensive spells, while the attackers released fireball and similar fire attribute spells, madly bombarding the sea dragon locusts in the sky. Yang Feng pointed with his hand, and fireballs flew out from his hand, bombarded the sea dragon locusts, and blasted them into ashes. Every time he killed a sea dragon locust, he could feel traces of demonic energy of massacre being born inside him, strengthening his fleshly body. This was the power of divinity of massacre. Shi Shui operated the Western extreme cold ice phoenix method, and as if the incarnation of a small goddess of ice and snow, the sea dragon locusts fell to the ground and turned into ice sculptures. Although Yang Feng could summon great warlock rank mechanical golems to fight for him, but he still had to temper his true combat ability. Once he entered the Great Cloud Dynasty, Yang Feng would no longer be the monarch of Tyrannid subcontinent who could call the wind and summon the rain, but rather an ordinary level 2 warlock. Those mechanical battle beasts would be his greatest trump card. With a smile on his face, Kong Fong Ao casually pointed with his finger, and wind blades turned into a whirlpool of wind blades that swept towards the countless sea dragon locusts and crushed them. In the midst of the fierce battle, Zheng Gong saw that there was no end to the sea dragon locusts, and that even though there were 8 great warlocks aboard the ship, it would still be difficult to resist. He could only clench his teeth, take out a red jade card from his bosom, and pour his spirit force into it. The storm cry erupted with a terrifying life force. Hatches opened, magic radiances flickered, and fire snakes shot towards the sea dragon locusts from the hatches. Hundreds of fire snakes intertwined in the sky, and fire elemental particles surged and surged, as if a peerless natural disaster. Along with countless crisp sounds, large swaths of sea dragon locusts were burned to ashes, and scattered on the ground. The clumps of sea dragon locusts suffered heavy casualties, and finally could not resist the fire snakes released by the storm cry. They flapped their wings and flew away. Once the sea dragon locusts retreated, everyone aboard the storm cry heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, anguished howls were heard. After all, the mature sea dragon locusts were level 2 extraordinary life forms, and their battle prowess was extremely formidable. Even though the sea dragon locusts were driven away by the formidable weapons aboard the storm cry, there were still several hundred casualties among the sailors aboard the storm cry. Only 20+ people died on the spot, but several hundred were injured. Yang Feng asked curiously, why didn't they use large area of effect meteorological spells? Although the sea dragon locusts were level 2 extraordinary life forms, but they still couldn't resist fireball. If a large area of effect meteorological fire spell was used, then they would be seriously injured in one move. Kong Fong Ao explained, this is also a taboo in the Sea of Monsters. Once a large area of effect meteorological spell is used here, then the formidable beings in the Sea of Monsters will sense it. They will come and destroy us. The sea dragon locusts can barely be considered as a natural disaster in the Sea of Monsters that is relatively easy to resist. Kong Fong Ao said, Yang Feng, large area of effect meteorological spell is a taboo in many places. Unless it's a mortal enemy, otherwise, once you use it, then you'll be hunted down to your last breath. It's best not to use your alchemical weapon of mass destruction in the Great Cloud Dynasty. Once too many ordinary people die, then the Great Cloud Dynasty will list you as an A-class wanted criminal and send countless experts to hunt you down. In the Great Cloud Dynasty, there are many Moonlight Warlock rank bounty hunters. Yang Feng pondered for a moment, and then nodded. If Yang Feng was the ruler of a great empire, then he would definitely send countless experts to hunt down those villains who could casually kill hundreds of thousands or even millions of ordinary people. Until the villains were completely exterminated. The incomparably large number of ordinary people with weak strength were the foundation of the world of warlocks. Many warlocks started out as ordinary people step by step. Without the large number of ordinary people, then it would be impossible to have a bright and flourishing world of warlocks. Kong Fong Ao added another sentence. However, you only have to pay attention to one thing. Don't use that kind of alchemical weapon in densely populated places. In the main continent, the first-generation warlock emperors of the 8 great warlock dynasties gathered the power of their dynasties and carried out magic blessings on the main continent. The laws of the main continent are somewhat different from those of the broken subcontinents. Moreover, the main continent is much more solid than the subcontinents. The might of your alchemical weapon can't be as great as in the subcontinents. It's fine to use it in some remote places. Kong Fong Ao warned again. In fights in the main continent, generally some spells with strong single target power and small area of effect will be chosen. Otherwise, once the area of effect of the spell is too large, it will attract the attention of many experts and lead to a lot of unnecessary troubles. Chapter 194. In order to kill Cartman as well as the demons commanded by him, Yang Feng had fired dozens of nuclear warheads, erasing eyes of justice from a mountain range. That method was too cruel. Kong Feng Ao had no choice but to warn him a few more times. Yang Feng knew what Kong Feng Ao was apprehensive about, and said with a slight smile, "I know." Cartman's clone was a terrifying demigod-rank existence, and commanded countless demon experts. If he was given a bit of time, then he would definitely turn Tyrannid's subcontinent upside down. If it wasn't for Yang Feng's plan to heavily injure him with nuclear warheads, then it wasn't impossible for Tyrannid's subcontinent to fall into his hands. Yang Feng only listened to half of Kong Feng Ao's words. Unless it was a critical moment, he would never use nuclear warheads. If his life was in danger, then he would definitely use the nuclear warheads. Warning: the hull of the host's ship will be hit by an irresistible powerful attack. It is recommended to pounce forward. The lightning supersonic fighter released by Yang Feng tens of kilometers ahead of the storm cry instantly crumbled. "Be careful!" Yang Feng's complexion suddenly changed greatly. He grabbed Xianxia beside him and rushed towards Kong Feng Ao. Kong Feng Ao was slightly taken aback. His thoughts revolved lightning fast, and he made a decision. He rushed towards Yang Feng. A cyan beam of light slanted down from the black clouds and hit the storm cry. Countless runes on the storm cry's hull lit up, formidable starry sky warlock rank fluctuations of power erupted in a flash, and a huge protective cover enveloped the entire ship. When the cyan beam of light hit the huge protective cover emitted a "pa" sound and easily shattered. The cyan beam of light hit the storm cry, blasting half of the storm cry into two halves. The terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions, causing everyone on the ship to be shaken and sent flying. The storm cry that was blasted into two also emitted a "kacha" sound. A whirlpool appeared beside it, and it sank to the bottom of the sea. Yang Feng was also hit by the terrifying shockwave. His internal organs felt like they were being torn apart. He spat out a mouthful of blood, fell into the sea, and almost lost consciousness. "Brother, wake up." A burst of ice-cold feeling came from his forehead. Yang Feng woke up from his coma. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw an anxious Xianxia. Yang Feng looked around and discovered that he was already in the deep sea and was continuously sinking. Surrounding him was a layer of life force that only an official warlock could possess, separating him from the seawater and filtering out traces of air, allowing him to breathe. On the Zhangji plane, warlocks used secret methods to obtain a kind of life energy. As long as they weren't dead, they would be surrounded by a layer of life force at every moment. The stronger one was, the stronger their life force would be. The life force had all kinds of incredible mystical powers, allowing warlocks to survive in many harsh environments. Yang Feng pressed the dimensional crest on his chest, and a 100-meter-long level 4 extraordinary life form mechanical battle beast Barraman electric sea eel appeared in front of him. Yang Feng pulled Xianxia's small hand and jumped into the Barraman electric sea eel's cockpit. After becoming the uncrowned king of Tyrannid subcontinent, Yang Feng obtained many level 4 extraordinary life form corpses from the treasure warehouses of Black Dragon Pagoda and White Elephant Ivory. He used the portable fortified stronghold to turn those level 4 extraordinary life form corpses into mechanical battle beasts, which he carried with him. Xianxia asked, "Brother, what should we do now? Go back?" While following the storm cry as it sailed in the Sea of Monsters, Yang Feng secretly recorded the route. Yang Feng pondered for a moment, then said decisively, "No. The Sea of Monsters is too dangerous. Even if we return to Tyrannid subcontinent now, it'll still be very dangerous. Now, the top priority is to search and rescue the storm cry's sailors. With these experienced sailors, it doesn't matter if we return to Tyrannid subcontinent or head to the continent's eastern world's Great Cloud Dynasty." Finished speaking, Yang Feng opened the Barraman electric sea eel's life force scanning detection system. Extremely powerful detection ripples spread in all directions. Found it. On the radar, small red dots representing humans were displayed. After being analyzed by the portable fortified stronghold's optical computer, the life force of human warlocks could already be distinguished from that of other extraordinary life forms. This allowed them to screen out the majority of the sea extraordinary life forms. Yang Feng piloted the Barraman electric sea eel and quickly swam towards the nearest red. Kongfang Ao. When Yang Feng arrived at the nearest red, he saw Kongfang Ao floating in the water. When Kongfang Ao saw the Barraman electric sea eel, he erupted with a formidable life force. His expression was one of vigilance, ready to fight. Yang Feng said through the Barraman electric sea eel's transmitter, "Brother Kong, it's me. This is my alchemical golem. Quickly come in." The Barraman electric sea eel's abdomen cockpit door opened, and Kongfang Ao quickly swam inside. Kongfang Ao expressed his thanks with a grateful expression. "Brother Yang, many thanks for your help. Otherwise, I would have been in danger." In the Sea of Monsters, without a suitable ship, even Starry Sky warlocks would have a slim chance of survival, and Moonlight warlocks would also be in great danger. Yang Feng saving Kongfang Ao from the sea was indeed equivalent to saving his life. Yang Feng said with a smile, "Brother Kong, you're exaggerating. It was just a slight effort. I still have to save the others, so I won't say much." Kongfang Ao nodded slightly, remaining silent. Yang Feng piloted the Barraman electric sea eel and continuously searched the sea, rescuing the Storm Cry's sailors scattered in the sea one by one. After rescuing several hundred people, Yang Feng discovered the Storm Cry's captain Zheng Gong and conveniently rescued him. Zheng Gong had a grateful expression and said generously, "Brother Yang, this time it's all thanks to you. If it wasn't for you, then the several hundred of us would have died here. Henceforth you're my brother. In the Great Cloud Dynasty, if someone dares to bully you, then don't hesitate to mention my name. I don't dare to guarantee anything big, but some small matters, I can help you settle them in minutes." Zheng Gong was the captain of a D-grade armed merchant ship belonging to the Phoenix Cry Merchant Group, and was considered to have a bit of status in the Great Cloud Dynasty. Yang Feng asked with a slight smile, "It was just a slight effort. Captain Zheng, what was that cyan beam of light just now?" Zheng Gong's eyes flashed with a touch of bitterness, and he gave a long sigh. "I don't know what that cyan beam of light was. Maybe it was the aftermath of a fierce battle between two formidable beings. More likely, it was because I used the Storm Cry's Fire Serpent Skynet artillery. Such a large area of effect spell was perceived by the formidable beings in the sea, and they conveniently attacked us. The Sea of Monsters is very dangerous. Even though we've been sailing this route for countless years, we still don't dare to say that we truly understand this sea." Zheng Gong said with a solemn expression, "Brother Yang, this sea has become very dangerous. I advise you to leave this sea immediately. Such powerful fluctuations of power will definitely summon formidable beings." Yang Feng said, "I want to continue to the main continent. Is there any way?" "No problem. I have the route map of the Sea of Monsters. As long as this route map isn't lost, then I can take you to the main continent through the correct route." Zheng Gong fished out a jade map from his bosom. There were all kinds of fine lines on the map, and on one of the fine lines, there was a red dot. That red dot was the location of Yang Feng's party. Yang Feng took a glance at the jade map and discovered that they were already 1/3 of the way from the Great Cloud Dynasty in the eastern world of the main continent. Yang Feng immediately piloted the Barraman Sea electric eel in the direction of the eastern world of the main continent, following Zheng Gong's directions. The Barraman Sea electric eel had been fully modified by the portable fortified stronghold, and the fluctuations of life it emitted were not much different from those of a real Barraman Sea electric eel. In the Sea of Monsters, the level 4 extraordinary life form wasn't considered to be weak. As soon as the low-ranked extraordinary life forms sensed its fluctuations of life, they would retreat in succession. After crossing the sea, shortly after entering another sea, a 40-meter-long level 4 extraordinary life form magic fin swordfish, covered in black scales and with a mouth as long as a sharp spear, blocked in front of the Barraman Sea electric eel and issued extremely strange sounds. The sounds are in the common language of the extraordinary life forms. Now translate. Why did you break into our domain? Do you want to start a war with us? We'll tear you to pieces and then eat you. These two voices came from inside the Barraman Sea electric eel. Kong Fangao praised, "Amazing, you even know the common language of the extraordinary life forms. Brother Yang, your Steel City's warlock alchemists really make me have a whole new level of respect for you." Zheng Gong's eyes shone as he said, "That's right, the extraordinary life forms of the sea are also intelligent life forms. They also have a special common language. We haven't been able to grasp this language. Brother Yang, when we reach the Great Cloud Dynasty, can you sell us this translation's secret treasure?" "Let me think about it," Yang Feng said with a slight smile. The common language of the extraordinary life forms was the knowledge left behind by a Tyrannid subcontinent's great warlock who specialized in the study of the language of the extraordinary life forms of the sea. This kind of knowledge was very remote and couldn't promote the cultivation base of a warlock. Basically, no one would study it. Yang Feng scanned it and put it into the optical computer's database, before finally showing a miraculous effect. Every plane, every world had its peerless geniuses, talented geniuses, and they researched different kinds of knowledge. Some knowledge might seem remote and useless, but when used in the right place, it would be of great benefit. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, Martial World, and tales of demons and gods.